I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to order. At this time, we'll have our roll call.
Director Harris?
Here.
Director Hullabush?
Here.
Director Brewer is absent. Director Jewell?
Here.
Director Hart?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Roberts?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here. At this time, we'll stand for our invocation. Tonight will be given by Director Hollybush. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Bi-State Building Manager, Ms. Christine Barron.
Go bow your heads. Lord, thank you for the incredible opportunity to come together and serve the people of the city. Lord, we pray that you would be with us as we make decisions. God, I pray that you would be with every citizen we have, that you would bless them beyond measure, and that you would just guide us as we come together to do what's best for Texarkana. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. This time, we'll move right on into our citizens' communication time. I'll take these as they were presented to me. First, we have Amanda Moore to discuss the water park. Yes, ma'am.
Thank y'all. I'm here to talk about an embarrassing subject for the city of Texarkana, Arkansas. It has been an embarrassment and a controversial subject since its construction in 2012. Holiday Springs Water Park has reared its ugly head again. This place is scamming your constituents out of our hard-earned money. There are supposed to be receipts and invoices to show what the owner is using the $250,000 a year that they are receiving from the city, supposedly on repairs and maintenance. Have any of you looked at what they are claiming that they are spending that money on? It's certainly not repairs and maintenance. In 5 years, I can tell you it has not even had $250,000 in repairs and maintenance done. Just by looking at it from the interstate, you can see that. The AMP Commission website on things to do in Texarkana portrays this water park as a beautiful, clean, relaxing, and fun experience for families. That is not what we are getting. I have found many poor reviews of this place online on different travel sites. And most importantly, many local residents and out-of-town visitors that have voiced their concerns and complaints. You're allowing this investor to scam us out of our money with your lack of effort to make sure the investor is conducting business for your neighbors and local consumers and out-of-town family and friends. I have requested the inspection reports and documents to see what maintenance and repairs have been done in the last 5 years, and I'm sure I'm not going to find $250,000 worth. We are fed up with the silence about this place. What steps can y'all take as a board to ensure that your constituents are safe in spending their money and get the experience they pay for at a place that you helped establish and you fund to keep running? The last thing I want to have happen is this place to close. It has so much potential and such a great investment for the first few years. What I'm afraid is going to happen is next year, he will sell all these pre-sale season passes and not be able to pass inspection for open, and we will be in a loss of money. This summer, for instance, the water park was only open 7 weeks this summer. The adult pool has not been opened in 2 years. The wave pool was low and felt slimy by mid-July. Last year, the wave pool only had waves running the last week of the summer. The slides are falling apart. There's still no trees for the shade. We are paying $75 plus tax for a season pass. That's their Black Friday special. They are normally $89 plus tax. This investor is using the money he gets from the season pass sales to do minimum repairs needed to open. And this year, he didn't even start the repairs until after he failed the inspection. Therefore, he didn't open till mid-June, and he is already closed for the summer. There is no water being added to the pools by midsummer. They are extremely low-leveled and lack chemicals causing the slimy feeling. But he gets a discount on the water rate. I would love to see you all take action, audit the invoices for repairs and maintenance, and hold him accountable for the money that and its incentives that he receives from you all. But if you just keep giving him money and continuing to allow him to take advantage of us, we will use our votes as our voices in the next election. And I have some complaints that were sent to me, some statements that were sent to me I would like to read. To the city of Texarkana, Arkansas. I have been a loyal customer of Holiday Springs Water Park for many years. I have purchased many season passes each year during Black Friday and gift them to family and friends for Christmas. This year I purchased over 20 season passes, spending upwards of $1,500. Holiday Springs always opens on Memorial Weekend and is open through Labor Day. This is the way it's been every year, and this is their season that is advertised each year. This year, they did not open until mid-June with absolutely no announcement or explanation. Comments on their Facebook page were deleted. They made no announcement until they were actually ready to open, and they announced free gifts upon entering. When I entered, no employees knew anything about free gifts. They also cut their daily hours this year from 11 to 7 to 12 to 6, leaving some who work until 5 no time to come during the week, including a family member of mine who wouldn't have bought a season pass if she knew that the hours were going to change. We utilize our passes but noticed murky water over time, and the adult pool was never opened at all. Despite putting up signs stating they would be open through September, Holiday Springs announced on Facebook that on August 12th that it was their final day to be open for the season. They didn't even bother to make the Facebook post until mid-afternoon, knowing they would close at 6 p.m. This is unacceptable, and I absolutely will not support this business ever again. Not only do I feel like I was taken advantage of for the hard-earned $1,500 that I spent, but I noticed that with each passing year, the park is in more despair. The water is dirty and murky. These facts, plus the recent knowledge that the Holiday Springs receive $250 a year out of our Arkansas tax revenue, makes me very angry. There is absolutely no reason for the park to be in such despair and have unclean water, and to only be open half the time they are supposed to be. It is unfair to everyone who bought season pass. The owner obviously has zero integrity, and my belief is that he is lining his pockets with our hard-earned dollars and even a big chunk of the $250,000 he receives from our tax revenue. If part of the tax revenue from money I spend in Texarkana, Arkansas is going to keep funding this water park, I will shop and eat at restaurants on Texas side from now on, unless some serious stipulations and changes are made, and someone is appointed to ensure that those are enforced and followed through with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. I would like to add something to that, Mayor. I've had several complaints as well, hours and the quality. I think it's something the board needs to look at, having a workshop and find out what the problem is and how we go about correcting.
I would agree, and I would like audit reports from
Absolutely.
Tyler of inspections. You know,
We don't do inspections out there. It's the state.
State.
okay, we'll figure it out and we'll get them.
We did one this
Strictly
year.
falls on the A&P. It is not.
Okay.
I want to, go ahead, Mr. Harris.
I was gonna say that's totally a A&P issue and not per se a board issue, because the A&P made the contract. The board, I don't think they made the contract in regard to giving A&P the money, so I'm saying they need to look at the A&P and let them handle the situation.
I mean, just to clarify, this is not being funded from the general fund of the city. It's being funded by the A&P Commission, and the commission is its own entity. And there should be accounting records for for him to continue receiving. I haven't reviewed that contract in quite some time, but this is not something that the board here governs, nor is it something that the general fund of the city is sponsoring.
So I will say that, like Director Harris and the mayor said, it is an A&P commission that dictates for those funds. It's an agreement that they signed 20 years ago, or not 20 years ago, it's a 20-year agreement they signed in 2012. So I've received several complaints myself. Wednesday, we have a called meeting for A&P Commission to appoint, hopefully, an attorney. And so once that attorney begins, we will be looking at that as a commission.
Next, Ms. Mary McQueen. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I live at 708 Pinehurst Street. and the property next to me is 712 Pinehurst Street. There used to be a furniture repair shop there. It was built in the 60s. It's gone through 2 owners. Right now, the building no longer exists, the business no longer exists. But there is a tremendous overgrowth of weeds, trees, bushes, vines, and it's invading my property. There has never been any maintenance on the fence line, and all of this stuff is coming onto my property, and I don't have the wherewithal to clean it up. The whole property is overgrown. If you've been down that way anytime recently. If you haven't been, then you need to go look. But it should not be my responsibility to clean that mess up because those are not my plants or trees, whatever. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the dogs. For the past few years, there's been dogs roaming the neighborhood, aggressive breed dogs. Some of these dogs have bitten people. In late June, some guy jumped on top of my car, getting away from a couple of dogs. He left a huge dent in the roof of my car. He did not come back to fix them. These dogs need to be contained. And this hasn't been done. This has been going on for several years. And down at the end of the block from me, down Marietta, I understand that there's some people that have been bitten by dogs. This needs to be corrected.
Have you contacted animal control?
A lot of people have contacted animal control.
Okay.
It doesn't do it. They always have an excuse.
Okay.
So I'd like for you to use your powers to get something going. And I'd like to see that property cleaned up next to me.
Well, what's the address of that property, Ms. McCree?
712 Pinehurst Street.
712 Pinehurst.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. There's other properties over there that are pretty bad, but they're not directly affecting me. But I'd like to see the whole neighborhood cleaned up, but I'd like to see that one cleaned up first.
Billy Willis, talk about Nix Creek.
How you all doing today? I brought some signatures from the area over in that area over there, same area that she lives and she lives, other people live, you know. But at the same time, I'm here to ask about why the city hadn't did anything in that area in the last 50 years. But, you know,
As it pertains to Nix Creek, is that what you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
That whole area over there hadn't been no kind of improvement or nothing. You know, it's a little park over there that you finally put a little building and a bathroom in. But that was a few years ago. But at the same time, you know, over the years, you all made my family move from the neighborhood. But and said that you're going to improve the Nix Creek, but ain't nothing been done. But at the same time, across the railroad track, over by Arkansas High and over in there, every time the Nix Creek development come up, you work over there, but you don't never work over on that side of the railroad track in that area. You know, and just like this lady said about her house, you know, it's city property over there that's that you all own, and at the same time you hadn't cleaned that neighborhood up at all. You know, you got property you won't clean up at all, but then you'll send us a letter saying we need to clean up our property, but then your property over in that area you won't bother. And so why can't money be put in that area to improve it? And that's my question. You know, where has the money been? And see, like when you made me move, well then you never done anything. and that's been over 50 years ago.
Are you saying that the Nix Creek being the city-owned property, is that what you're talking about? The overgrowth on Nix Creek?
Repeat yourself, please.
Are you talking about the city-owned property? Is that the Nix Creek, the overgrowth? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, but at the same time, it's property that's been left that winds up in you all's hand, and you know it's plenty of houses and streets around there that's been well, I'm gonna say condemned, but at the same time they're still standing. You know,
But it really wouldn't be the city-owned property, but
it's a lot of property over there that houses has just gone down, falling apart. But
we're addressing some of those tonight, but not particularly those houses, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
But then at the same time, you know, we don't even have sidewalks over there nowhere, you know, unless it's around government property. And so why can't we get sidewalk like everywhere else? But I brought some signatures from that area, you know, to give you all, but I had turned it in last year, but I never heard anything from no one.
Would you state who you turned it in to? I know who you did, but would you state?
I turned it into the city manager that was, I can't think of his name right off right now, but he was in last year.
Mr. Ellington?
Yes, that's his name. I turned it in to him. But then I brought it again to turn it in to the board, you know, because see, here we pay taxes just like everybody else pay taxes, but ain't no kind of funding going in that area. Like I say, you put up the little bathroom and the little awning over there at the little park, but then what else has been put in that area? We can't get sidewalks, we can't get the cleaned up, we can't get the streets fixed, you know, nothing. You know, but people in that area is taxpayers just like everybody else. You know, so
You can give those to me, Mr. Wilson, you can give them to the city clerk, and we'll get them to the proper person.
I can give them to you?
You can? Does anyone else wish to address the board during citizens' communication time? Anyone else? If not, we'll move into our consent agenda. Tonight, we have two items on the consent agenda: approval of the meetings of the special call meeting on August the 7th, and adopt a resolution to reschedule the Board of Directors meeting in 2024 that conflict with holidays. What would be the desire of the board on the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes. Moving right on into our regular agenda tonight, item number 3 is to consider the following action concerning cleaning up of 5 nuisance properties. We'll conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding certification of certain delinquent taxes, adopt a resolution certifying the amount to be put on the tax books as delinquent and collect accordingly. Public Works Director Tyler Richards. At this time, we'll open a public hearing concerning these 5 nuisance properties.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. All right, so these are weed lot liens where we've gone out and mowed down all the overgrowth, cleaned up the junk on the property, that sort of thing. We do collect quite frequently on these liens. Unlike our demo liens, we don't collect as often on those, but we do on these smaller weed lot liens. And just so you know how it works a little bit, by state statute, we have 30 days to invoice after we go out and take care of the nuisance. After we give them, I believe, 30 days to pay, we have another 120 days after that to place a lien on the property. So that's why you're seeing these. We do a whole lot more weed lots than this right here, but you're just not seeing, you're seeing the beginning of the bunch right now. But I'm guessing we'll probably do 300 or so by the end of this year. Y'all got any questions for me?
Director Harris.
Now, when you say you're putting a lien on the property, is it maybe true that you putting a lien per se on the front end of the property? Meaning that if the person go and pay their taxes, they have to pay that lien before they can pay their taxes?
That's correct.
That's it, that's how the lien is?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
they-
they have to pay this lien before they pay their property taxes.
Before they pay the property taxes?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to let the public be aware of that, even though I somewhat knew the answer, but
And we actually met with Laura Bates over at the county this week, and she said that we are collecting quite frequently on these weed lot liens.
Can we anticipate seeing all 300 of these come before us?
We had a lot more pay this, when we sent out our initial invoices this time than we normally do, so that was great news. But there will certainly be more, yes, sir, yeah, certainly many more.
Any other discussion during the public hearing? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this public hearing? If not, we would close the public hearing. At this time, we would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas notice was given pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-904 to the property owners identified below of a hearing before the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to determine the amount of the lien, if any, to be placed on the property identified below for the expense incurred by the city for removal of overgrowth, trash, and debris from nuisance properties of such parcel of real property under the provisions of Arkansas Code annotated section 14-56-201 and Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-901 and the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, including, without limitation, Chapter 11, Article 6. And whereas such notice was given pursuant to applicable law more than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing and stated that the hearing on the matter would be before the City Board of Directors on August 21st, 2023, commencing at 6:00 p.m. in the Texarkana, Arkansas Municipal Boardroom. And whereas a hearing on such claim by the city was held on this date pursuant said notice and in accordance with the provisions of applicable law in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, and whereas the properties at issue, property owners and lien amounts with the amount of the lien on each said parcel being the city's incurred expense for such parcel plus 10% penalty as provided by law, including without limitation, Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-904 are as follows. Martin Luther King and Ash, Ward 2, parcel number 1010600, all of Lot 1, Block 12, Original City. Austin Carver, 1202 East 33rd Street, Texarkana, Arkansas, 71854, $220. 1023 Ferguson, Ward 2, parcel number 2730330, all of Lot 47, Block 8, Fraunhouse. Susan Ibam, 1 Holiday Lane, Texarkana, Texas, 75503, $220. 14 Martha Street, Ward 2, parcel number 5410140, all of lots 7 through 12, Block 2, Toweries. 2 Coins LLC, 30 North Gould Street, Suite 26845, Sheridan, Wyoming, 82801, $220. 907 Jackson, Ward 2, parcel number 1691630, all of lots 3 and 4, Block 21, Broadway Heights. Vanessa Zarate, 11927 Sunburst Marble Road, Riverview, Florida, 33579, $220. 100 Artesian, Ward 2, parcel number 3450100, all of lots 5 through 7, Block 4, Kirby College. Divine Chick Ghana, 10016 Ellard Drive, Lanham, Maryland, 20706, $220. Whereas the Board of Directors has determined that there should be certified to the Miller County, Arkansas tax collector to be placed on the books as delinquent taxes, the amount set forth above for each said parcel of real property. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the amounts set forth above are hereby certified to the tax collector for Miller County, Arkansas for placement on the tax books as delinquent taxes on the respective parcels of real property identified and described above, and collected accordingly as provided for applicable law, including without limitation, Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-901, pass and approve this 21st day of August 2023.
The city attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollibish,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
excuse me, Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 4 is to consider the following action concerning substandard structures. Conduct a public hearing regarding the demolition of 2 substandard structures. Adopt a resolution condemning the 2 substandard structures for demolition. Tyler.
So I normally try to bring you all the condemnations at one time during the year, but I really badly need to take care of these 2 structures here. They're owned by the same individual, and we're having lots and lots of problems out of them. So I would really appreciate it if we could get those condemned. It would help us to knock out these issues. They're both on the same block in 1700 Pearl Street, so you got 1710 Pearl. We first tagged it in July of 2018. It's classified as A3, unsafe and needs major repair. Staff recommends condemnation. And the other one is 1721 Pearl Street. It was originally tagged in January 2017. Classified A3, tagged unsafe, needs major repair. Do you have any questions for me?
Director Harris.
I'm very aware of both of those houses.
Yes, sir.
But the question I have, if you notice there's a house right across the street from their 2-story, and you notice how they had got that house and remodeled that house, but they also had asked me about that house there and the other house across the street, how would they go about obtaining them 2 houses? And I guess to make a long story short, how much leeway would you give that individually? Because the amount of money he put in that house across that street there, I don't know if you'd have noticed that, right beside that he basically went in and repaired that house, and you wouldn't think it was the same house once you get through with it. So I guess the question I'm asking is, I know who owned that house. It's the same person. I don't think, well, I guess you're gonna call her name when you read the resolution, Ms. Sane, so
Yes.
it ain't gonna bother me to mention.
Her name's actually not on the property.
Oh, it's not?
But I believe it's her husband. but-
Okay, well, I know, okay, well.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I know who was supposed to own the 2 houses, then I guess they don't own the house. But that house and that house, well, and I guess, I know you can't make her sell the house to this individual, but is in a way you can get that person who have fixed up the house, right beside that house, how much time could he obtain that house and the other house across the street? I know that don't have nothing to do with what we finna do, but I don't want us to condemn these houses, then come tomorrow, you bring a bulldozer, you know.
No, that's not going to happen. It takes time to make all that happen. So if the board condemns these structures tonight, we'll have to send out another notice to those property owners that they have 30 days to either come in and pull a building permit or a demolition permit. They've got those 30 days, and at that point, we will, most likely we'll hire it out to a contractor to tear down, so we'll start looking for bids then. That's going to take a few weeks probably. And that's if we can tear these down this year. I'm still trying to get all of our other condemnations tore down, so as long as we've got some money left over, we can do that, but it's possible we don't. But I'm certainly willing to work with someone. I'd rather see them fix the houses up than us spend $5,000 to tear them down. I would much rather see that, but.
I think somebody's trying to live in that White House there, from what I gather. I pass by that, and sometime in the morning, I see someone sitting on that porch, and you think that they living there in the house the way they act.
There are no utilities on.
I know, no
to the
water.
house. Nobody's supposed to be there. It's tagged, so there's not supposed to be anybody in there.
Yeah.
There's actually another one across the street from
the
there
yellow one
that
across the
needs to be tagged and condemned, but we can't because somebody's living in there right now. we can't put anyone out. We have to wait till they move out to tag it. But I'm certainly willing to work with anyone that wants to repair it. The policy that we have gone by is if they want to pull a building permit on it, they can pull a building permit. We allow that, but we have to see some action within 3 months.
Well, based on what you see, what he'd have done, that if he get the house, would you see the house next door to that one? What do you think, if that person wants to get that house?
I don't care who gets it.
I'm just saying, if he get the house,
Why don't you facilitate the sale? Get them on.
I try not to base my opinion on, I try to give everyone the same opportunity. So I don't care who it is. If they want to come in and pull a building permit, I will give them 3 months to see some action. And if we don't see anything within that time, we have to move forward.
Any other questions?
You said you got some extra money left over. I got some streets I need working on.
Oh, sure. I don't believe I'm going to have any left over.
Any other comments or anything from the public during the public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing and have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas the Public Works Department has requested an order of condemnation under Section 11-87 of the Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances for the following two substandard residential structures. 1710 Pearl Street, Ward 2, parcel number 4550090, east half of lots 9 and 10, Block 1 in the Pierce Edition. Tam Than Hun, 207 Baden, Texarkana, Arkansas 71854. 1721 Pearl Street, Ward 2, parcel number 3452220, all of Lot 5, Block 61, Kirby College. Tam Than Hun, 207 Baden, Texarkana, Arkansas 71854. Whereas owners of the listed properties have been notified that the structures on the property are in violation of Arkansas Fire Prevention Code and the International Property Maintenance Code, but little or no work has been done on the structures, and the allowed time period has lapsed for the owners to voluntarily bring the structures into code compliance. And whereas such structures have become dilapidated, unsightly, unsafe, unsanitary, obnoxious, or detrimental to the public welfare, and whereas the Public Works Department has attempted to notify by certified mail the last owner of record of each property, informing them that the Board of Directors will consider declaring these structures a nuisance. And whereas notices of the condemnations will be sent to the owners of record, allowing 30 days to obtain a permit for repairs or a permit to demolish the structure, after giving property owners at least 10 days in which to remove any personal property. And whereas the acting city manager and staff recommend approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the above properties are found to be and are condemned as a public nuisance under the provisions of Section 11-87 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, that the Public Works Department shall provide the owners of record with notices of the condemnations and allow 30 days for repairs or demolition by such property owners, that the Public Works Department is authorized to demolish any of the above described structures that are not repaired or demolished within the 30-day period, after giving the owners at least 10 days in which to remove any personal items. Pass and approve this 21st day of August 2023.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollenbush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, resolution passes. Item number 5, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of the Park and Recreation Department to apply for an outdoor recreation matching grant for the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism in the amount of $250,000 to construct an all-inclusive playground at Texarkana Rec Center. Adam Dahl.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board. This resolution is just to apply for the grant. It's not to award any money. What you see here is kind of a rendering of what we're looking at. It's an all-inclusive playground. It's for all abilities. That cost on that one's about $568,000. So all I'm asking for is approval to go after the grant. It is $250,000 match, and I plan on asking A&P for the match.
And what are we going to do if A&P can't give it to you?
I'm gonna work with some donors to try and get some donations for it.
So what's the time frame on getting the grant? When will you hear if we're going to get it or not?
The grant is due Friday, and it'll take October before we know whether or not we've got enough points to go forward.
But haven't we received this type of grant before?
Yes, the last grant we received was for the concession stand at Pondexter, $300,000. So we received $150,000 from the outdoor grant program, and A&P put up the other 150.
So our portion of the match would be up to 250?
Correct.
It would be, so it
Correct.
would be half of that, it would be 250 tops.
And I can play with the design and bring it down if I need to. I can get rid of the train design and make it more of a stock design if need be.
Anybody else have any questions for Adam?
I think it looks great, Adam.
Thank you.
For all you do.
Not any other questions? We'll have the city.
Cheatham has a question.
Yes. Yes.
Good evening, board. My name is Pete Cheatham. I live in Ward 2, and I'm trying to get a handle on what he just said about the park, the grant money.
Yes, sir.
Is any money going to be going to our ward?
This is in Ward 2.
It's in Ward 2.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you say improvement, what type of improvement are you talking about? You talking about structure improvement as far as the inner structure?
This is a playground structure. It's a new playground structure.
Is this for our ward?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you talking about
This is at the rec center, the old Boys and Girls
okay,
Club.
so you're not talking about the Ernest Hill Park, are you?
It's right across East Street.
Yeah, I'm saying, are you talking about improvement at our park?
No, not for this grant.
Why not?
I'm going after, I had a public hearing and nobody came. This is.
Okay,
this is what I'm going
there's
after.
another problem with this. You had a public hearing, when nobody in our ward contacted about a public hearing. And I don't know whether it's the city manager fault or my director, but nobody was even told about this. We don't never have no input. Now, you getting all this grant money and you gonna deny the park in our area the opportunity to upgrade. I don't think it's right, and I want to also address Mr. Hollywood. I understand that you are going around conducting, you had a meeting concerning the tri-state. Can you tell me?
Is this a public hearing or is this a resolution? No offense, we've had a public hearing on this. This is to adopt a resolution. This is not up for discussion as far as I know the rules are.
Mr. Cheatham, I'll be glad to talk with you about that after the meeting. I think right now we're just discussing this playground equipment. But Mr. Dalby, we have also got some money aside or plans to put some equipment in Iron Mountain Park.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, that equipment's actually already ordered.
Okay. So do we have a timeline on when that will be installed?
It'll be early next year.
Okay. So
Mr. Cheatham, Adam gave you one of his cards there, so as far as the parks, and he runs Park and Recreation, I'm sure he would be glad to meet with you and discuss that.
Come by anytime.
Absolutely. He'll meet with you.
Okay, we're coming by as a group. Will that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the resolution? If not, we'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Parks and Recreation Department seeks to construct an all-inclusive playground at the Texarkana, Arkansas Recreation Center and wishes to seek grant funding assistance. And whereas in order to obtain the funds necessary to construct the playground, it is necessary to obtain a 50-50 matching grant from the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism's Outdoor Recreation Matching Grant Program in the amount of $250,000. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the Director of Parks and Recreation Department is hereby authorized to submit an application to the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism for assistance in developing and constructing the all-inclusive playground at the Texarkana, Arkansas Recreation Center. Pass and approve this 21st day of August 2023.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollebush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 6, adopt a resolution authorizing the acting city manager into a contract to purchase Union Elementary and additional space for the Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department. Chief Crown.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. What we're asking for tonight is to allow the city manager, the acting city manager, to work with the school district to purchase Union Elementary for the city as basically a permanent training facility for the police department, as well as some other things. We'll be able to consolidate the EOC that we pay currently $33,000 a year for, plus all the ancillary expenses that go with that, into that building as well. The old cafeteria in that building can be turned into the vehicle maintenance facility that we normally use the EOC for. We don't have much else out at the EOC for the price that we pay for it. It's a pretty expensive place for a couple of bays. Beyond that, we have had inspections go out there. Tyler's gone out there. Our building officials have gone out there, inspected the building. They found it to have good bones. The school district puts a lot of money into that building not too many years ago. The electrical system's been updated. The lighting systems have been updated. We have Cat 5 cable throughout it for internet connectivity and communications. There's very little that's immediately wrong with the building that we could see as being anything expensive. That's one of my biggest concerns is I don't want to buy a pig in a poke. That's why we've asked Tyler and his folks to look through it extensively. They seem comfortable with it. I've worked numbers over with the acting city manager thoroughly. She's in full support of it, as I understand, and she thinks that it'll save us. She actually made me realize that we wouldn't have to pay to lease the building anymore either. So that was some stuff I didn't even put in my spreadsheet of about $7,200 a year. I'm asking for your consideration and approval for her to enter in those negotiations with the purchase of the property.
Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Chief, I just have one, and it was brought to me yesterday. The tornado shelter that's there, I'm assuming that would remain and wouldn't be fenced in as part of the...
No. And I talked to Dr. Kessler about that during Pride Week. She asked me that specific question. Would that be something that we would still pledge to allow the public to use during a time of need? And absolutely. Okay. It was built for that purpose. I think we would be remiss in that. I think once the situation passes, we're Bi-State to lose its functionality, we're City Hall to lose its functionality because of a storm of some sort, then we have that structure as well to set up in. It's a good solid structure. It's not huge, but it would still be standing if we needed to set up a sense of governmental continuation if all else failed. And I think that's a good fallback. I'm used to that with the Hurricane Alley I came from. So.
Well, I can tell you, if you haven't visited the Bi-State basement, you need to. I mean, there is zero room in Bi-State. It's mildewy. It's not the ideal situation for evidence and property storage. Absolutely not. And I think it provides a lot of potential at the Union School property. And I totally support that.
Jeff?
What about the, I hadn't been over there in a while, but I grew up over in that area some. My grandmother, aren't there some basketball goals and playground equipment out there, or is there still?
The playground equipment's been removed. If the basketball goals are still there, they're in disrepair.
Okay.
They've been fallow for a while.
Okay.
But the playground equipment, based on my own inspection of the place and walking the place a few times, has all been removed.
Okay. My concern was I was just making sure if it was still there, would we make it available to the children that live over in that area? I played a lot on that playground. So since it's gone, I guess you answered that question.
Come right on down to Vera Bradfield.
Yeah, there you go.
So Chief, what is the notification for the, since we're getting rid of 30-something thousand income to the airport, what's the get out of the airport lease agreement?
30 days.
30. And when do you plan on, if we
Correct
approve
on that,
this
right?
tonight, when do you plan on notifying
A lot of numbers. As soon as we have some confirmation from the board.
Any questions?
Yeah, several. First off, I was hoping to have more time to study this. My email was that this was going to be placed on the September 5th agenda instead of tonight's agenda, and I was hoping to have an opportunity next week to explore more the expenses and everything involved in this. And Tyler, you did the examination, the air conditioning, any idea when those were redone or anything? Your examination review was that they're in good shape, but how good a shape? And any idea where they were replaced?
Those AC units are going to last a long time still. They've been replaced, I'm sure, probably within the last 5 to 10 years at least, or at most. I mean, they're all in great shape, right? Yeah.
Plumbing,
I saw no
how about the plumbing? Did you?
Obviously, there's no telling what's under the slab. You don't know unless you have problems, but we did check all the plumbing. Everything's operating as it should right now. But I mean, as far as plumbing goes, that's all underground, so you never know until you get into it.
That's
But
Dr. Kessler out there.
I'm sorry?
Isn't Dr. Kessler over there?
Yeah, I mean,
Huh?
Do you want her to come up?
She can come up and speak if there's any questions, I'm sure, about that building. She probably knows more about it.
As far as the shape of the building, as far as functionality,
It's a sound building. I can't tell you when the air conditioning units were replaced. It's very sound. But, we offered it to the police department a couple years ago. We have another fire that's waiting in the wings. We are ready to make a sale. We've had the city inspector come out and look at it. Roger Douglas, who used to be one of our board members, has inspected it. He said it's good to go.
Okay.
So we're ready to
The roof, I'm just trying to ensure that we're not getting a building that's going to need a repair.
It's an old building, but it's in great shape. It is a very sound building. It was built years ago. It's one of the sound buildings in the district. But however, it is.
Any idea when the building was built?
Do you know that?
Long time.
No.
1968.
1968? Okay.
I couldn't tell you when the building was built. I can tell you that Roger and I did a very, very thorough inspection.
That's what I was.
And we found no issues. Now, there's no doubt about it. It's going to require maintenance as with any other building, and being an older building, a little bit more than a newer building would. But as it stands right now, that building is in great shape.
Utility expenses estimated to be what each month?
Over the last year and a half, about $2,000 per month. Higher in the summer, lower in the winter, obviously.
So we're saving we'll move from the airport. We won't have that expense. We come to Union School and $2,400, so we're saving a little bit there, but yet we got to ante up from the city budget to take care of what we losing at the airport.
We also have to pay for any maintenance expenses at the airport. The way our lease is written with them is every dime is on us.
Right. But we'll have those expenses there at the Union School.
So with Union, speaking back to your question about the air conditioning systems, there are only a couple of rooftop units there. Most of the air conditioning systems are external units. They're just like you would have at your house. The school has the ability, one thing we talked about when we walked it with Roger was, can we section off this building so that as we need it, we bring it online to use for heating, cooling, water, et cetera. Roger assured me that's not an issue. We do it now, as a matter of fact. We've been in that building for several years, and we are the ones who make sure that we've got the water turned on, or the heat turned on rather, during the cold months, so that it's not filled up with water leaks from broken pipes during freezes. We already do a lot of those things. It's not something that would be foreign to us. With your concern, one of my big concerns was the roof, and the roof is not that old, actually. The roof is far newer than the one we have in the Bi-State, and it's solid. There are no leaks anywhere. The second concern I had was the air conditioning systems. And if you walk the outside of that building, you will see that those are relatively new air conditioning systems on the outside of that building. I haven't gone up on the roof Director Jewell, and looked at the RTUs, the rooftop units. Don't know, but everything is working very soundly out there. I'm very skeptical about spending money, and you'll find that with me over time to come. And I've had to try to convince myself that the money's going to work for us. When I put it on paper, it does. And when I put the X's and O's to it, it does. As Tyler said, there will be expenses with the maintenance of any building, but we're not buying one that's a shambles now. It's in good shape. It's solid. The bones are good. I wouldn't stand here before you and ask for it if I didn't think it was.
Okay, so your $2,000 estimate for utilities, is that based on
actuals
of the whole building or just those that are portioned off now?
As we've been using it, we won't open up the whole building all at once. We're not going to have it all at once. We're not going to air condition and heat that entire school complex all at once. We would use those offices that are adjacent to the ones we've already been using in the same wings, and that's how we would start it off.
All right, okay. Well, Dr. Kessler, I think this is for you. Your other bid, is that from a private sector?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I have a concern that here we are, as a government entity, kind of stepping in front of private enterprise, so.
That's actually a condition of the lease agreement that we have with the school. And their attorney spoke to that at the
first right of
school board
refusal
meeting.
or something?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. And again, and this goes to the city manager.
Yes, sir.
Why were, what the indication was it's going to be next board meeting versus this board meeting?
I'm sorry, there was a little confusion on that. It was our full intent to put that on the next board meeting, but at the last school board meeting, they put it on their resolution to have it on this, that it would be on this agenda.
Is that something that's detrimental, something that can be? I mean, I'd like to do a little more study. I may just be one of 7, but I'd like a little more time.
Hey, Director Jewell, I do have a question. Is there any specific item that you're wanting to know more information about? I may be able to give you that information tonight.
Well, I'd like to know what, if the building is opened up completely, if we start air conditioning, say 5 years from now, what those costs may be. Tyler, did your people go on top of the roof and look at the air conditioning units and look at the roof itself?
No, there's no evidence of any leaks or anything,
Right.
but we did not get on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, something along those lines is what I'd like to see,
And I
actually.
did want to let you know that actually by us purchasing this building, compared to the utility bills that we're paying at the EOC along with the lease agreements that we're currently in, the city will actually save about $20,000 per year by purchasing this building. It is actually a great benefit to the city, and it will actually save the city $20,000 per year.
Now, I'm not saying that it's not, it's just that I would like to see those figures indicating to me that it is, and I don't see those. I've got everybody's word that it is, but I'm a facts guy. I like to see the evidence, and I'm just not seeing it. I've got everybody's statements, and, you know, and I'm in agreement. It's just that I don't have the documentation, and I'd like to see the documentation.
What documentation would you like to receive?
The
cost analysis on what?
Cost analysis, and somebody going up top of the roof, looking at the AC units, actually looking at the roof itself, some actual inspection.
I'd like to add, I want to thank the school board for bringing it to us first.
Absolutely.
Because pass or not, I mean, I'm definitely for it, but I appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity to utilize something that y'all have.
Dick, were you going to address something? Dick is the attorney for the school district.
No, I'm just going to say that the board, there have been discussions with the city in the past, year ago, 2 years ago, about buying the building. Then, when it became apparent that the district was going to sell the building, reached out to the city. And the offer of the third party was $150,000. We offered that to the city pursuant to the lease that we had for $150,000. But this thing has been going on for a year and a half trying to get it sold. So the school board met last week and passed a resolution based on the city's offer of getting this board's approval on August the 21st. So that's why we're here tonight. That's what our resolution says on the 21st.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
As I say, we do have, if this board tonight passes on it, then we can go to the private citizens who want to buy it.
Director Harris.
I'm not willing
I'm
to
gonna
take
let
that.
him finish. Anything else you have to say, Mr. Joe?
No, so there is a time constraint. We are under a time constraint. Okay.
But I kind of agree with Director Jewell on the selling process, because I got the same memo too, that it was said it would be on the first meeting in September. So, but also, I called over to the school this morning, and I got a different price on what it costs now for the utilities. I'm hearing that right now it's $4,000. They go anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 a month. Now that's what I got this morning.
I've looked at the actual cost.
I'm just saying that's what I got this morning.
I understand that,
From
but
school figure, from
I
school
understand that.
personnel person.
Very well.
And that's what he told me, $4,000, anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 on the utility. Now I don't see no reason why he lied to me, and then I asked him about, which he already knew who I was, because I guess for me serving on the school board, but I think at the time he said he'd worked for the school district the last 3 years. But my other concern, when I also asked him about the roof, he also told me that the warranty went off the roof last October. So no, that's because I know that was one of the biggest costs. By being on the school board, that was one of the biggest costs you had to do, was getting a roof redone on the school. And that can be anywhere from $400-something thousand for as I can remember now. I don't know how good that roof is now, but he told me that the warranty went off last October.
Well, I would say the same thing that y'all are saying about wanting to see proof. That's what somebody's opinion is. I trust the chief. He said he actually saw the actual bill. So I'm just going to say this. I think it's an investment in our community. I believe the chief. I've been thinking about Union for years for the police department, the presence of the police department in that community over there. And I thank Dr. Kessler and the school board for bringing it to us. If we wait on this, and I understand we have concerns about the cost, but if we wait on this and that private citizen buys that out from under us,
I don't think they're going to happen.
well, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I already know I don't think they're gonna really happen. But, and my other thing is, which I was asking the email to you, Chief, and I guess of that, my thing was, what other entity are you gonna remove, and can you put all your other meeting in the other section at Union School? Because, I know you got a place downtown that they meet at. And is there any way, can you put that over in the school?
We're planning on consolidating several different functionalities out there, yes, including that one.
I don't know what it's called, but I know it's a little building down there.
We have a task force that's stationed in one of the buildings downtown, and yes, we have plans to consolidate them at Union as well.
And how long will that plan on be?
It depends on what we have to do to get them all in there. That's a multi-jurisdictional force that you have over in that building that you're talking about. It's us, Miller County, and the Miller County Prosecutor's Office, so we have to accommodate everybody, and we have to make the transaction with all those entities. It's not going to happen within 10 days.
Well, one last question. What kind of cost are we looking at for remodel? That your initial
There's no real remodel cost. The only cost we're looking at right now is what it will take to get bay doors put in on that cafeteria. As far as remodel, the school's in good shape. We're not looking at a remodel for the school.
Well, in our offices, you're not looking at making some changes, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000?
We're looking at probably close to $20,000 for bay doors, to be able to put bay doors in to accommodate vehicle maintenance. And the rough estimate we've gotten on that one is just around $20,000. But that's a rough estimate at this point, and that would have to be something that we find in our budget.
But I think that's between Ward 1 and Ward 2, Euclid Street is our dividing line between Director Harris and myself. And I think anytime you have a law enforcement presence, it helps reduce crime.
Yep.
And myself, anything that we can do as a deterrent to reduce crime, I'm 1,000% for.
Yep.
And having a facility that is right there, I think we would have to support something like that.
It puts us more in the community. That's not a measurable attribute to it, but it puts us closer to the community, certainly.
Absolutely.
What does it cost the city if we don't purchase this building, as far as what we continue to pay for the ARF building?
I would tell you that we don't have a training facility moving forward. And I'll tell you flat out, I don't want to be a police chief of an okay police department.
Absolutely.
If all you want is an average okay police department that doesn't have any place to train, it diminishes our police department. And just as I said in the letter that I addressed, training is one of the things that brought me here, and it's one of the things that keeps our officers here. We have the best and most trained officers in the state of Arkansas. I don't want to lose that advantage. That's huge. That keeps us out of lawsuits. It keeps us from it keeps us from a lot of ills. Police departments suffer a lot of ills due to lack of training. And that's one thing we can say about Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department. It doesn't suffer those ills for lack of training. And this would be a huge loss to us moving forward because you won't get this opportunity again.
So as far as, can I finish? I got a couple more. So as far as the active shooter training that we host there for the state, is there potential for this to be a revenue producing facility at any point?
Probably not through active shooter training because that's largely grant funded. So that's a dual grant, state and federal grant from the state of Texas and the feds. If Arkansas as a state chooses to adopt the ALERT program, which is what some other states have done, then it would be a federally funded and state funded program at that point too, free to police officers. So that in itself wouldn't be a revenue generator. What we do host regionally are different types of patrol tactics schools. We do host SWAT schools and firearms trainings and that kind of stuff for team movements and that kind of stuff for SWAT. And those are somewhat revenue generators. You have to build the name up over time so that you can, you have to make those things to make them profitable. You have to build up a reputation for quality training over a period of time at a suitable venue. And that way you get them in regionally from other states, not just the state of Arkansas.
Director Jewell. Again, I'm not opposed. It's just that I would like more time to study.
I absolutely understand. And I apologize for the short window, Director Jewell.
Mr. Jewell, I'm gonna make a motion that we table this till the next board meeting, give you the opportunity to do that.
I'm sure Mr. Dotson's probably going to tell me to sit down, but I feel like I have to speak up anyway, just so you'll know the whole story. So this all started back under a former city manager and a former chief of police. And so we tried for many years, and we had a former business manager at that time, Andrew Hill. We tried for several years to sell this building to the city, but it did not work for us. We tried several times. It just did not work. And so we finally, talked to, when Chief Cram come on board, he really didn't know anything about it. And we mentioned it to him one time. Like I said, we tried with Chief Harrison and Jay Ellington, and we just kept kicking the can down the road. We just kept getting the runaround. And I don't know if he ever brought it to you guys that we wanted to sell that building. We kept paying the utilities, and the utilities probably are closer to $4,000 when it's full of students. But ever since the city just had the one piece, it probably isn't but $2,000 a month because they've only been in one little section. But when Chief Cram come on board, we talked to him, he didn't know anything about it. We finally got a buyer just recently. And that's when Mr. Dotson got involved. We took it to the State Department. We got permission to finally sell it. And the lease, I did not realize that the lease said the city has the first right of refusal because we even had a hard time. We didn't realize that the city had to have an invoice before they could pay with the city paying us for that. It was only $625 a month is all you guys have been paying us. We pay $800 a month just to have the lawn mowed every month. So we've been losing money on this for years for you guys to be able to lease that. But we have a great partnership with the police department. And I can't say enough about our partnership with TAPD. They're great for us. They've opened the safe house. They come to our rescue whenever we need them. However, we cannot continue to keep that building and only charge them $625 a month. So when we had a buyer, we have to sell it. And so it is a private entity. It's not a charter school or anything like that. It's a private citizen that's coming wanting to buy it. And then as soon as we found out, Mr. Dotson said we have to offer it to the city. And that's when to the police department. That's when they said, we're interested.
If we pass on this deal tonight, does it automatically go to her, or do we have time to take
That's
things
what
into
that's why I pushed with
It's gonna-
Tyranda. I said, we need this on here because we do not want this to fall through. We cannot continue to lease it for $625 a month.
And that's where the original confusion came in with the time, because we were originally trying to put it on the September 5th agenda to give a little bit more time, but after they approved their resolution, and I even called after the resolution was approved to confirm that we had to have it on this agenda.
Yeah,
or
Mr.
it will
Dotson
cause us
wanted to
lose
push
the
it
building.
down. He wanted to put it off.
Yeah.
I said no, because if you guys decide no and she decides no,
I'm not going to say no.
we
If we-
can't
Why
keep
are we
doing
still
this.
talking about
Yeah,
this?
let's go ahead.
Why are we still talking about this?
Well, let me
Come on,
tell you,
man,
Dr.
we beat this to death.
When Union moved out, I went to Jay. I wanted that building since the last person left. And he asked me, for what? I had no idea at that time. But you can't let that type of property go when the school district is offering to sell it to us at such a bargain price. And I mean, that's being short-sighted on the city's part. If we were being short-sighted, we would have never had downtown. I mean, you have to look at the long term of what that building can provide the city versus leasing a building that has no potential.
Let's call for a motion.
Motion to, second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any other discussion? Yes.
One more question. My biggest concern is that I don't want this building to become a money pit per se, and it'll take away from the neighborhood. That's my big concern about this building here, because just like what's finna happen to the airport, you know, the airport, everybody say it's gonna be great, but somewhere down the line, we got to come up with $1.6 million. So, you know, everybody's looking at a new airport, but they ain't looking at the price we gonna have to pay. So my thing is in a way that within, and I think right now the budget of the police department is almost, if you count down with count the by-state, it's almost $11 million a year. I think it's $9 million just the police department alone. And but is in a way that do we see fit that that the current chief can work within that with that $9 million to operate this building and do what needs to be done and without taking away from other parts of the neighborhood? That's my biggest question. That's my question that I'm asking.
Yes, sir, that's the full intent. I've had several conversations with Chief Graham, even when it comes to the upgrades and running of this facility. And just like the upgrades that they're requesting this year with the building and purchasing it, our first conversation was, can we pay for this within the current budget and not have to allocate additional funding to that? And him and I are both confident that we'll be able to take care of the current needs within the current guidelines of the budget without having to allocate additional funds. And to note that it saves the city at least $20,000 a year, that gives you room as well for upgrades and maintenance and things that go on within that facility.
And also, you said that this, the money for the pay for this gonna come from the ARPA fund.
Yes, sir.
And how much of that we have that we haven't used after we spend the 150 for this?
Everything from the ARPA funds has been allocated budgetarily, but there was a portion of that was set aside for accounting services as established in the ARPA funding. So what we've done, and the intent of that funding was to use it for upcoming projects that we know may come up that the city will need funding for, instead of just dumping it into the city's general fund. So one thing that we did is we used that money to pay for the road pothole project, and we're going to use that funding for pay for this project as well. The one thing about that, it will qualify for those funds because it is considered general governmental use. And so because of that reason, because we received less than $10 million, we'll be able to allocate this for funding.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Oh, but how much money do we have left? Oh, you didn't answer that question.
I think we've got around, after this, we should have around $300 and something thousand that's in that particular line item.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, there was a reference to the school's cost of maintaining the property. I think it's clear that with the addition of the new middle school on Jefferson, 2 years ago, all the schools were realigned, and the maintenance cost is the fact that we're paying for a vacant building. So it's not as though it's the maintenance cost of the building per se, it is maintaining a building that is not being used, underutilized, and not part of the long-range plan. So that is why the state gave us the authority to say.
Crystal clear.
So no other discussion, we'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department has utilized Union Elementary School as office space and a training area since 2018, and whereas the Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department needs additional office space to store evidence in a safe manner, a training space, workout space, and other uses as needed, and whereas the Texarkana School District Number 7 has offered to sell the property to the city for $150,000 plus buyer's closing costs, and whereas $150,000 is available through the American Rescue Act Plan funds, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the acting city manager is authorized to enter into a contract with Texarkana, Arkansas School District Number 7 to purchase the Union Elementary School. Pass and approve this 21st day of August 2023.
City attorney's read the resolution. I believe we have a motion and a second, do we not, on the floor? Any other discussion?
Second.
Could you call a roll, please?
Harris,
I know, like I said, I've been having different thoughts about it, but I guess I better go ahead and answer one way or another. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Hollabash,
Yes.
Jewell,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 7, which is to adopt an ordinance to allow Central Records and Communication, CRC, to provide record entry and limited record maintenance to small Texas police departments. Wendy Herring. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. I'm asking you to adopt an ordinance to allow us to enter records with limited records maintenance for the small police agencies in Bowie County. This is pretty much a Texas issue, and we would like to charge a small fee, a reasonable fee for that effort. I believe you have the fee chart, the types of records that would be entered, and the agencies that this would be made available to.
So just to clarify, and I spoke with you about this today because I was confused when I read it. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And so just to clarify, maybe from Josh's standpoint and from here, I understand that that service is not being provided by them anymore, by Texas DPS. So it's cheaper for them us to charge them through CRC, and I understand that concept. I really didn't understand that when I read the resolution, but also the resolution does not contain the fee structure, and it's going to be attached to the resolution. Should we go back and add that into this ordinance, or? I mean, I had to go back and
do that.
I mean, I had to go back and look and see what the actual charge is for, what we're actually voting on, but. I don't know. If nobody else has any problem with it, it needs to say at least see attached.
This is also a short-term solution for them, because once we go live with Motorola, these same agencies will come on board with us and will be their full records manager. This is just trying to meet their need at this time.
I understand. Any other questions?
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I remind the board that this is an ordinance to pass tonight. Wendy's also asking for an emergency clause to bring these people on board immediately. To pass tonight, it would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
Motion abbreviated.
Second.
Again, why are we voting on this?
Why are we voting on this? It's a,
We have,
Rhonda can explain, it's a,
because the city of Texarkana, Arkansas maintains the accounting records for Bi-State, and we have to approve, the city board has to approve any changes to any fee schedules that are charged and maintained by Texarkana, Arkansas.
any other questions? What would be desired to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing Central Records and Communication to provide record entry and limited record maintenance for small Texas police departments, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Motion second, abbreviated.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading, abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
No.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing Central Records and Communication to provide record entry and limited record maintenance for small Texas police departments, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
No.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing Central Records and Communication to provide record entry and limited record maintenance for small Texas police departments, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none, could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
No.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. She's asked for an emergency clause. What would be the
Motion
desire?
to attach.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to attach an emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
No.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, an emergency clause attached. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
I appreciate it.
Moving right along to item number 8, to adopt an ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to enter a lease purchase agreement for 3 Toyota Tacoma trucks for the Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department. Assistant Chief Bobby Jordan.
Yes, sir, Mayor, Board of Directors. This request is for 3 narcotics detectives vehicles that are fully funded by grant funds from the BJA and the DCF funds. The BJA fund is a federal fund, and the DCF fund is a state fund. These vehicles will be 100% paid for over a period of 4 years in a lease, and they will belong to the city after the end of the 4 years, at which time they'd be moved over to our Criminal Investigation Division.
Any questions for Bobby?
Is there a reason why we're using pickup trucks?
You can't buy sedans that it will last, and that's part of this plan, is to have a vehicle that will last about 10 years.
Okay.
First of all, Ford doesn't even make a sedan anymore. The sedans that we would be looking at would be something like a Chevrolet Malibu that you might get 4 or 5 years out of, and then they're not any good. They're disposable.
Any other questions? My only question is, and I know I've talked to you about this before, I'm not a lease guy, and I understand this grant requires us to lease them, but at the end of that lease, the balance that's owed on these vehicles, that type of stuff, is that going to come from general fund? Is that going to be able to be paid for by the grant? Or?
This particular lease is through Arvest Bank, and at the end of the lease period, we buy all 3 vehicles for $1.
Okay, cool. Any other discussion?
Give me some more of that.
Can you get 4 more?
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? If not, what would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
So we have a motion and a second for first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hallebush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a lease purchase agreement for 3 Toyota Tacoma trucks for use in narcotics investigations, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. Desire for the second.
Second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Just have a motion and a second for its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the row?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a lease purchase agreement for 3 Toyota Tacoma trucks for use in narcotics investigations, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. Desire for its third and final.
Motion third, abbreviated form.
Second.
So a motion is second for third and final reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the row?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a lease purchase agreement for 3 Toyota Tacoma trucks for use in narcotics investigations, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What will be desired to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none, could you call the row?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. The police department is asking for an emergency clause. What would be the desire?
Motion to attach.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to attach emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call the row?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving right along to item number 9 is to adopt an ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to enter a construction contract with High Tech Sign Company for the Front Street stage sign. Tyler Richard.
So I've been working on this for months, it seems now. We're almost done with this stage. We've got a few final things to wrap up, but this, I believe y'all have got this in your packet there. That's what it would look like. And that's for $38,000, roughly $500. Y'all have any questions for me?
My question is, in the packet, the resolution still has Watley signs listed.
Changed it.
And
This is
it's-
a new one.
updated.
We got an updated one in.
Okay, in the original one, the price difference between what Watley offered and High Tech Signs was about $8,000.
Watley can't do it until after November. So that's the reason why I'm asking to go with High Tech Signs. High Tech Signs can get on it immediately. And I've been working on this for months now. It's taken forever just to come up with design and to get quotes. And I've worked with every sign company in the area trying to get this done. I had one company tell me that they couldn't do it for anywhere near that price. The other one just refuses to get me a quote. Watley and High Tech were the only two that I could even get quotes from. Watley is a long ways out before they can even get to it. That's why I'm asking to go with High Tech.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm still trying to see out what's the hurry, you know? I thought I saw 19,000 versus.
Yeah, that was a mistake as well. So if you see the High Tech Signs quote there, that bottom number is a deposit. So 19,000 is the deposit that they require. That number got accidentally thrown in there. That's what you saw the 19,000 for. And what was the hurry. Well, if we want this done, you'll find later on in the meeting, we have a possible large event coming at the very beginning of November. We need this completed before that event. That's the hurry.
Any other questions? I remind the board, this is an ordinance to pass tonight. It needs to be read 3 times. What would be the desire to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated. Second.
So we have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the row?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a construction contract with High Tech Signs for the Front Street stage sign, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. Desire for second reading.
Second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hollowbush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a construction contract with High Tech Signs for the Front Street stage sign for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. Desire for the third and final.
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris.
Yes.
Hollowbush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a construction contract with High Tech Signs for the Front Street stage sign for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing and seeing none, could you call the roll?
Harris.
No.
Hollowbush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. Tyler's asking for an emergency clause. What would be the desire to attach an emergency clause?
Motion to attach.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to attach an emergency clause. Could you call the roll, please?
Harris.
No.
Hollowbush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving right along to item number 10 is to adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to include an alcohol beverage permit for hotels, motels, and restaurants.
I'm asking item 10 to be pulled from the agenda, please.
What basis?
I think that we need to maybe reconsider and have another discussion about this based on the sales tax revenue implications to the city. And I think we need to explore that a little more before we take on something like this. So I would like to have this removed pending a workshop in the future, please.
Well, what respect to sales tax revenue? I'm not following you.
Okay, so you've got private restaurants that can go and purchase from wholesalers that affect the price of sales tax that we receive from the wholesalers compared to our local liquor stores. Our local liquor stores, this will affect them because they are cut out of a customer that has been dealing with them forever. This should really affect our new restaurants that are coming in. It shouldn't affect our current restaurants, other than the fact that if it did, it would be less sales tax revenue to the city. I'll let Taronda maybe.
Are you talking about like grandfather in?
Yeah.
Just one thought here. It was my understanding in our workshop that only pertains to hard liquor. They're already buying beer from wholesalers anyway, and that most of our restaurants didn't buy hard liquor from wholesalers because they don't have the volume for the price. There was no objection at the workshop when I was discussing that. When we discussed that, have to do that, I don't know.
Mayor, don't we have a motion to table it?
Yeah.
And
There wasn't-
just ask for a
I'm
second?
just asking why are we tabling it? I mean,
Director Hart's concern is referring to the sales tax revenue that we could potentially lose if the majority of our private clubs, which are our hotels, move to a liquor on premises consumption restaurant permit. It is my understanding there is no requirement for them to change. This just provides an additional option. If you were to have a lot of restaurants that decided to move to this permit, they would then be able to buy liquor wholesale instead of from our liquor stores, which we talked about at our workshop. And that would potentially have a great effect on our sales tax revenue that we receive from liquor stores. But the thing with wholesale, it requires volume. And I don't know, I can't tell you a definite on the volume that we will see a big push from our restaurants to move to this license, because I don't know if they could actually afford the volume that's required.
The fees are higher, aren't they?
The fees are higher, yes, sir.
They would not be advantageous. And the only thing that, and Stephen, I think you were there, I just want to make sure I'm right, even if we table it, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing too, is that The only difference is that this carrying a drink out of a restaurant is permitted now, still under COVID, by the state. It's not been rescinded.
Correct.
And this ordinance would allow that to be permanent.
That is correct.
So if the state, which the state had a bill introduced to stop that, it didn't get out of the House committee this last time, but if they do, if the state legislature goes back and does not allow that, this ordinance, if passed, would allow that permanently.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we've reached out to everyone that actually holds a private club permit. We got a few questions because they thought that it was a mandatory permit in addition to what they currently have now. But once we fully explained to them that this is just an additional option for them, we didn't receive a bunch of phone calls regarding people wanting to change or anything of that nature. The greatest benefit, like you said, would be for our new restaurants that would come in. This would actually make it easier for them to receive a liquor license.
Yeah, I mean, the two calls that I received from two restaurants was they weren't changing because they don't buy liquor from wholesale.
Yes.
Hard liquor, so. There is a motion on the floor to table.
I got another question.
All right.
But wouldn't this ordinance somewhat stop the spirit of competition in a sense? Or would it enhance it?
What do you mean, the spirit of competition? Are you talking about from a liquor store standpoint?
I guess if I'm owning a restaurant anywhere, I'm trying to go out and find the best and the cheapest way so I can have my business and sustain my business. Would this, by not passing this, would that stop that opportunity for the restaurant, or would it make it better for the restaurant?
To me, they can still go buy anywhere they want. They just
Right.
have an option of buying wholesale if the price was better.
This is what it does, in my view, is I'll be honest with you, if it greatly affects anyone, that is the liquor stores. That's where I see it has the greatest effect on anyone
So
because
the biggest liquor store here in town, that's who it gonna affect.
honestly, that's who it will affect. If you have a significant push
Yeah.
for restaurants that move from the private club permit to this permit. Now, the greatest benefit I see of this is I see two benefits. One is if you have a new restaurant that comes in town, the biggest concern they have is that they are not able to get a liquor license. They're able to get the retail beer license, which is a lot easier to receive, but they're not able to get that liquor license, which keeps them from being able to sell hard liquor. The second benefit of it is a hotel motel permit, which will allow for a in-room bar and for them to sell liquor at their restaurant if they have one inside. Right now, we just have one hotel that actually has a liquor license, but this would allow any of those to now have a mini bar in rooms, which would be an additional source of revenue to the city as well.
Any other discussion? There's a motion on the floor to table.
I got one.
Okay.
I think I got it. I'm trying to remember that. What's the percentage a person pay on the taxes on selling liquor? Do you know at a restaurant?
I can get it for you. That breakdown, the liquor taxes are the most expensive out of all taxes that are levied. If you'll notice, when you buy a drink from a restaurant, the taxes are included in the price of the drink. Most of the time, there's not an additional tax. So if the drink is $7 or $9, that already includes the prices. I can tell you from a city standpoint, we charge an additional supplemental tax of 5% on top of the state and local taxes, and then the state charges additional
I know what somebody
taxes.
told me, but I don't see how that could be true.
Did they give you a number close to 20%?
No, they gave me higher, 48.
I don't see 48, but I can see close to 20, if not more. I don't have that exact figure, but I can tell you the tax on mixed drinks is expensive.
Any other discussion? There's a motion on the floor to table.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to table. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
No.
Hollabush,
No.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Motion is tabled. It'll move to the September the 5th agenda.
When would you all like a workshop on it?
I don't need, if they won't, they don't have one, I don't need one.
I can't.
I didn't see it though.
I'll give it.
Yes, sir, I'll give you the information you need.
Moving right along, item number 10, and item number 11, to adopt an ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to accept an amendment to the city's 401k retirement plan.
Yes, sir. The city entered into an agreement with ICMA to manage the retirement plan and assets for the 401A retirement plan for non-civil service employees with Ordinance M50. Since then, the name of the company has changed to Mission Square, and with Ordinance 26/2023, the city defined a qualification for retirement as 20 years of service or age 60 with 10 years of service. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend the plans to comply with the definition of retirement as defined by the city. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions? If not, I would remind the board, this is an ordinance. To pass tonight, it will need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire to have it read on its first reading?
Motion reading and first, abbreviated.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to accept the amendment of the city's 401A retirement plans with Mission Square for non-civil service employees, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire for second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to accept the amendment of the city's 401A retirement plans with Mission Square for non-civil service employees, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be desired to have it read on its third and final?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its third reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the acting city manager to accept the amendment of the city's 401A retirement plans with Mission Square for non-civil service employees, for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final. What would be the desire to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Ordinance is adopted. Our last item, item number 12, is to adopt a resolution authorizing the acting city manager into a contract with Cross Ties and Big Ass Touring regarding the performance of Priscilla Block on the Front Street Stage Festival. Am I allowed to use profanity?
I don't know, Mayor.
I hope so, because I'm going to have to repeat it.
I'm just reading what the company is.
Calling you a preacher.
And to Front Street Festival Plaza, acting city manager, Ms. Tyronda Henderson.
Yes, sir. The purpose of this agenda item is to enter into a 50/50 agreement with Cross Ties in order to bring Miss Priscilla Block for a concert, and also enter into agreement with Big Ass Touring for this same concert as well.
I'm ready to make some money down there.
Yes, sir.
And I know that, I would like to just say, I know that Tim O'Neill, that owns Eagle Distributing, is here tonight. He's been a big instigator. I want to commend him for working with us on the Front Street Stage and putting his company in the forefront of helping us do something great for downtown and do something for our city. This has a great opportunity. She has been very well followed. He's worked hard on getting this here. We pushed this to get this here tonight because we're in a very short window to get this contract signed, and I think that it's something that we'll be proud of when it's over with, and we'll see many of these yet to come.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Yes.
I know the state that they had to get a certain amount of insurance. whether $1,000 or $1 million insurance? Have they got the insurance yet?
The insurance, Cross Ties will actually purchase the insurance and name the city as an additional insured, and the insurance is for $1 million.
And when they don't have it?
He's gonna get that before the concert, so that is actually already in the work. They've already got an insurance company and everything to do it.
It pertains to event insurance. So
Yes,
they
sir.
will insure each event. It's called event insurance.
It's not ongoing?
Oh, no,
They
sir.
have
It's-
their own insurance, but
Right.
we only require them to have event insurance when they're using, when they're having events.
Okay, and if I also read right, how much money is we talking about splitting?
The cost shouldn't exceed about $31,000 after I put everything together. Her rider is $40,000. That'll be $20,000 for each entity. The production cost and lighting is another $10,000. We're looking at $2,500 for insurance. I estimated about $5,000 for police overtime, as well as any additional miscellaneous costs shouldn't total more than about $3,000. So the city should look at expenditures up to about $31,000.
But that's what we paying to have this here?
Yes, that's what the city's portion of the cost would be, about $31,000.
So we paying $31,000 to have a concert this?
Yes, sir, and the concert is expected to generate about, if it's completely sold out at the current ticket cost, it should generate about $150,000.
Nice.
And so everything will be split 50/50. Myself or someone in my department will actually have a login for the ticket sales. Both Cross Ties and we would like all ticket sales to be online through one platform. So hopefully it sells out. We won't have to sell tickets at the door or anything like that. So it will give us the opportunity to have copies of all expenditures as well as all revenues associated with it.
And also, did I see that they get to deduct $600 because they providing a room?
They're not going to deduct $600. Cross Ties is actually going to cover the expense. If you will notice, the last 10 or so pages are riders of the things that they're required to have. Some of those items cannot be covered by city funds, and I addressed that with Cross Ties ahead of time. So they're going to pay the entire $600 for the rider, as well as provide hotels, green room, and transportation and personal security for her.
So how much did it cost to bring that person here? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Her total contract is $40,000.
She's got I didn't know who it was. I looked her up. She's got 3 million followers on Spotify.
Yes.
She's had very, very large attendance. She's been in Nacogdoches, Tim, and Longview.
She sold out in about 3 days at Natchitoches. We tried to get her here right after that. There is a rider that she has that she can't break within a certain amount of miles from there. That's why we put it off to November the 3rd. She is a push light sponsored person. That's how I'm able to get her here at the cost of getting her here. You're getting her for half price. A typical artist like this at her level right now, this week is about 80 to 100,000. Because she went to #1 here a week ago, her numbers are going up to about 150,000. So that's why, as the mayor said, time is of the essence. If we don't move today, somebody else is going to step in.
Tyrone,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
those figures again, you're talking $150,000 gross, right?
Yes, sir. That's the gross, $150,000.
We're going to pay, out of that, we got to pay the artist
Yes, sir. So
and the $31,000.
no, the $31,000 is our portion of the cost toward the artist. So the total expenditures for this is right around $62,000, $63,000. So once you net that, the city will actually generate revenue if this show sells out.
There's a break-even point.
Your
And
numbers
so
are
basically,
off because general admission's going to be $40.
Okay, so it's gone up some.
We're cutting it off at 5,000 people, even though the facility can hold more. We're cutting it off at 5,000 because this is the first facility, or first event we've had here, and we want it to be successful. So we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn their part, whether it be serving, or the police department, or whatever, parking, for people to find out. We're going to learn from this, but if you base it off the 5,000, or even on the average general admission ticket, it should revenue somewhere around 200,000,
Yes.
which at that portion half of that is yours at 100,000. Your cost of that, based on her numbers right there as we know them, is about 31.5.
Correct.
So you'll revenue out somewhere around 68.5 if it sells completely out.
And the tickets price has actually changed since the conversation I had because I was basing it upon the $30.
So we were at about 1,500 break even, so we're actually not using general fund revenue or anything like that to do this. We have a Front Street Stage account that we have advertisements and things and money that Tim has raised that's in there. All we're doing is pledging that money to get her here.
Yes.
And then we were break even at 1,500 for both entities, for Cross Ties and for the city, and we're expecting, we did numerous numbers like at 3 and 35.
Right.
And if we have 5,000 people there, we're probably going to make more than 200.
Yes.
Just an in general question, which I'm sure this is going to be very successful because she is very good. How often can we look at getting someone downtown like
It's
that?
my understanding that in 2024, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but it's the potential to have 5 different concerts downtown in the next year.
That would possibly have 5,000.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
And all the revenue that we raise, we do have that Front Street Fund, and we want to put the money back into that fund because it helps us maintain those facilities.
But why not put it back, then we get a bond? Why not put it back and pay the bond?
Yes, sir, that is certainly a possibility to be able to use that money to pay off that loan.
And then my last question is, what if somebody else come to this, who they come to and get the same deal as Cross Ties got? Because what if someone else come and say, hey, I want to put a concert down there, and how would they go about doing the same thing?
Well, if you have them reach out to myself, part of this agreement is I had Cross Ties. That's why there's 2 separate agreements. The city had a specific agreement with Cross Ties as well as with the company that's bringing this tour in. I was very, very specific on the items and the requirements of those contracts to make sure that the city wasn't being left on the hook for a large expense regarding things like that.
Can somebody else come down there and put a concert in without involving Cross Ties?
Yes.
Can they do it just the city? Because
That would be.
If Cross Ties should be in a position to get a piece of the pie every time somebody put an act down.
No, sir. This contract that we're signing, it is related only to this concert. It is not an ongoing thing. The agreement that we have with Cross Ties regards the use of their green space in that area and the first right of refusal on alcohol sales.
So one thing I would like to just say before we vote too is that this is one thing that I see from my standpoint is Cross Ties has been in the business of booking concerts. The city has not. So the city would have exclusive rights going forward to book any event, have 100% of the ticket sales come back to us. But I felt like it was a good, and the reason I support this is that it felt like it's good to partner with somebody that's been in that business before.
Yes.
Let's get the kinks and stuff worked out of this downtown, and let's go have 10 concerts down there, and we can put them on.
Yeah.
But anybody else can go down there and approach us about putting on a concert. We have exclusive rights to use their property during any concert, so.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to get out to the point at the end of the day, the taxpayer paid for that downtown, not Cross Ties. So that's the point maybe I need to say that.
But you're also using $25,000 of Cross Ties money to help guarantee this event. Not every entity has that kind of capital to put up to guarantee an event.
Well, look what they get. They got a free bathroom, a free this. And I think that the city really, I better be quiet about that.
So we have another resolution to vote on. What would be, we'll have the instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas Cross Ties event venue in the city of Texarkana, Arkansas desire to have country music artist Priscilla Block perform a concert at the loading dock stage located in the Front Street Festival Plaza on November 3rd, 2023. And whereas Cross Ties desires to enter into an agreement with the city for a mutual 50-50 understanding to provide equal services for Priscilla Block to perform. And whereas the agreement sets forth that the city and Cross Ties will split 50-50, Priscilla Block's $40,000 guarantee, sound and lights not to exceed $10,000, $2,500 premium on a $100,000 liability insurance policy, and any Texarkana, Arkansas Police Department overtime expenses for the event. And whereas the agreement sets forth that Cross Ties will be responsible for the hospitality room up to $600, hotel accommodations, personal security, and transportation on the day of the show. And whereas the city will be responsible for providing the necessary stage equipment, such as a scissor lift and hanging beam clamps for the stage on the day of the show, and whereas the city will also enter into an agreement with Big Ass Touring Incorporated to secure Priscilla Block for the concert on November 3rd, 2023. And whereas the acting city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the acting city manager is authorized to enter into a 50-50 agreement with Cross Ties in the amount and under the terms herein described, as well as an agreement with Big Ass Touring Incorporated to secure the Priscilla Block for the November 3rd, 2023 concert, pass and approve this 21st day of August, 2023.
City attorney's read the resolution. What will be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Harris.
Yes.
Hollabush.
Yes.
Jewell.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, the resolution passes. All right, we don't have any other new items on the agenda. At this time, we will have a quick adjournment to enter into executive session to consider the appointment of Randy Henry to the Historic District. We'll have to excuse all guests. Tim, thank you again.
Do we know executive session for that?
Do what?